This is all a question I have for this witness, please.
Thank you. Anybody else? Put up your hand, please. Thank you. Yep, Mr. Ramadan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Harry Chan.
Morning, sir.
My name is Prakash Ramadan. I represent with my team the interests of the Kurban family and, of course, the daughter of Yusuf, Henry.
Yes.
You still work at Paria?
No.
When did you depart?
I departed in May.
May.
Yes.
Was it voluntary on your part?
Yes, it was.
Yes. Mr. Ramdan, is he still at Paria?
Yes, he is.
Yes. Now, you arrived there, from what you told us, at what time? At the scene at bird 5?
16, 16:15. 4:15. Yes.
Yeah? At that point in time, you were the most senior person from Paria at the scene. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Were you able to get any important or helpful information from your Mr. Ramdan when you arrived?
Well, information I got was divers were missing from the chamber.
Right.
Sea searches commenced, and he was unable to get any further information from LMCS.
I see. He was unable to get any further information for LMCS.
Yeah.
Did Paria, assuming that what you were told is accurate, that he did not get further information from LMCS, did you make any effort to ascertain what Paria itself did to inform itself as to the circumstances?
Could you repeat that question?
Of course.
I'm a bit confused. Sorry.
I have to say I'm struggling to understand it as well.
Yes. Simply this. Did Paria itself, or any personnel from Paria, make efforts on its own behalf to ascertain further information?
What is Paria? I mean, it's an amorphous identity of a company.
It's so simply this. Paria personnel.
Well, can I ask you the question?
Sure.
Did anyone from Paria seek to obtain information, as far as you're aware, seek to obtain information about what had happened?
Yes, so Jonathan Ramdan indicated he tried. He didn't get any feedback. And
Right.
I myself went on the barge and spoke to Andrew Farah.
Right.
But he didn't respond to me.
I think he was lying flat on his back.
Flat on his back, yes. And
Yes.
his hand was covering
And
his face.
with his hands over his face.
Yeah,
Do you think he might have been distressed?
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was unresponsive when you asked him questions.
Yes, correct.
Does that help?
Yes,
Not really.
and if you are confused for a moment when I say Paria, I mean Paria in its personnel, okay? So that as we move forward, you'll understand that, won't you? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Oh, beautiful. So, having not achieved further information shortly after your arrival, there came a time when you appreciated that the men most likely were in the pipeline. Isn't that correct?
No.
It never came to your attention or belief that the men were most likely within the pipeline?
No, not at that point.
No. At what point, if any, did it come to your attention or awareness that the men most likely were in the pipeline?
At the time when the shouting was heard from the chamber.
And what time was this?
This was 17:22.
Which is 5:22 p.m.
5:22 p.m.
Yes.
Correct.
When did you first speak to Mr. Piper in relation to this matter?
When I first got the
Listen,
call.
what time? Listen, man, you didn't read your statement before you went in the box?
Yes, but I need to remember the
All
exact
right,
time.
go ahead.
Yeah? Right, so I first heard of the incident at 15:10, and thereafter I called Colin Piper.
Yes. When did you first see Mr. Piper on the scene, if at all?
I can't recall. It would have been, I can't remember what day, but it would have been some day after.
So up to the time you left that night, Mr. Piper, who is head of the incident management team, had not come to the scene. Is that accurate?
Yes, correct.
Yes. And you were the most senior man on that scene till 2 a.m. the next morning?
No, until Catherine Balkisoon arrived.
Oh, she is senior to you.
Yes.
And what time did she arrive?
Sometime around when Mr. Christopher Boudram was rescued. I'm not sure exactly what time.
Sometime just before Christopher
No,
Boudram.
well, I'm not sure what time she arrived, but I noticed her sometime just after that.
Just after what? Boudram?
Just after Mr. Boudram was rescued.
Right. When Boudram was rescued, you were very eager, up to that point in time, being the most senior man, to ascertain the condition of men who went missing. Is that accurate?
Yes.
You would have put yourself in a position to see and or hear what he had to say. Is that true?
Yes, that's
Right.
correct.
You heard him say men were behind, and they were right behind.
I didn't hear him say that directly, but I heard that through asking one of the other employees.
Right. So it was basically like common knowledge for all those who were close to him,
Yes, correct.
right? That he had communicated with clarity that men were just behind and that they should go and rescue them. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
You, of course, as the most senior man, forget Catherine for a moment, took command of the situation, didn't you?
Yes.
And command of the situation required in your mind the highest priority being to what? Not rescue the men?
Yes.
Yes. What did you do to ensure that those men were rescued, or at least an effort made to rescue them?
Yeah, so I coordinated with LMCS. They went down
Yes.
and informed the incident commander that diving operations had begun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Was there a moment when an instruction may have been given that no one is to enter the pipe?
Yes.
Who gave that instruction?
Mr. Colin Piper.
But he wasn't there, so it came through what?
It came through me.
Through you.
Yes.
You were the mouthpiece of Piper who gave the instruction, no diving into the pipe. I want that very clear. Correct?
Yes, I passed
Yes.
it.
At that point in time, there had been no assessment as to whether the pipe was safe or dangerous. Isn't that true?
I can't say that.
But you're the man on site. Was there any assessment by any personnel from Paria that the pipe was either safe or unsafe at that moment?
No, I don't know.
No. But there we had in the balance, you appreciate life as our balance? Yeah?
Yes, yes.
You had 4 men who you've been told were alive and just beyond. Correct?
Correct.
And a decision and a choice was made to not save them. Is that accurate?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, a choice was made to rescue them.
No, I wouldn't say that either.
So you're saying nothing. What are you saying? You would leave them there, knowing full well, hold on, this is a water environment, and therefore life-sustaining air and oxygen was crucially important. Do you agree with that?
Yes, correct.
So time is of the highest essence.
Yes.
Yes. Did you have the luxury of an encyclopedic examination of all the circumstances?
No.
No. So therefore, my question still remains. At the time when Christopher came out, Paria personnel did not know whether the place was safe or unsafe. Is that still correct in your mind? That is the pipeline?
I can't say if they determined if it was safe or unsafe.
Well, let me talk about not them, but you. You're the senior man on site. Did you make that determination?
No, I didn't make
No?
that determination.
So did you make a determination, as we have already established, that the highest priority would be to save the men? Is that still correct in your mind?
Yes.
So you didn't make a decision to rescue them because that was the highest priority. Yes?
Yes, correct.
And you didn't care at that moment whether it was safe or unsafe to do so?
It was my decision to make.
Whose
I am
decision?
following an incident command system. I am taking
Whose
instructions.
decision was it to make?
The incident commander.
Right. And at what time did he make that decision? There we go again.
What decision you are asking him to examine?
As to what time the decision was actually made to not endeavor a rescue.
Oh, I don't
Well,
know.
I'm not sure he can answer
No,
that
no, I
question,
don't
can
know.
he?
No, but thank you, Mr. Chairman. When was it communicated to you that no effort be made to rescue?
That was never
No,
communicated.
just a minute.
to me.
No. Was it ever communicated to you that there would be a decision not to rescue?
No.
No.
Thank you. And that's the point. So as far as you are concerned, you didn't make any decision, nor was any communicated to you to not rescue. What prevented the rescue? Everybody laughed. They don't understand. What prevented the rescue? You haven't not. There was no communication from your seniors to not rescue. You're there. Your highest priority is rescue.
Well, again, it's not an entirely fair question. He's already told us that he had had an instruction from Colin Piper, who was in charge, not to allow any diver to enter the pipe.
There you go.
Given that there was, that's where we knew they were,
Yeah.
then it's hardly his responsibility to
Yeah.
countermand that instruction, is it?
Yeah,
So he was simply conveying that which he was being told.
Right.
And it's not really for him to go outside that decision.
I appreciate that. And that's why I specifically asked whether any such thing was communicated to him.
Well, we know it was, and we know what he
Yeah.
told the
sorry.
divers about entering the pipe.
Yeah.
He made it clear that they were not allowed to enter the pipe
Thank you.
because it was regarded as unsafe.
And that's the point. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. What time was it regarded as unsafe?
Paragraph 60. '59 first, actually.
Yeah, I don't have the exact time, but it would have been sometime after Mr. Badram was rescued.
Yes. No. On what factual basis, as far as you're aware, formed the opinion or decision that it was unsafe to rescue?
Don't answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You appreciated that there were persons there willing, able, and available, and who wished to pursue a rescue operation.
No, I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that Mr. Kurban's son, Michael, together with other divers, had come onto berth 6, first of all?
At that time, I didn't know that was his son, but yes, I saw divers came.
You certainly would have paid attention to anyone going into the water.
Yes,
Yes. You saw divers go into the water.
yes,
Did you ascertain as to who they were and what were they doing? You being the senior Petrotrin personnel.
yes.
Having learned this, did you inquire of them, or did you find out that they were ready, willing, able, and available to do a rescue?
Yes, so they were in the progress of rescue, yes.
Yes. In your mind, as the most senior person there, was it a reasonable position to take that it was too dangerous to endeavor a rescue?
Again, that's not my call to make.
I'm not asking whether it's your call. I'm asking about your opinion as a senior person on site who's feeding information to the decision makers.
No, I am following my instructions.
Right.
I wouldn't
Good.
give an opinion on.
Thank you. Did you further any information to your seniors or whomever the decision makers were that it was too dangerous to go into that pipe?
No, I didn't pass that information to them.
Are you aware of anyone in your chain of command who passed that information from site to whomever is to make the decision?
No, I'm not aware of that.
So as far as you are concerned, no communication was made as to the pipe being dangerous. Is that accurate?
Not from me.
And as far as you're aware,
Wasn't it already inherently dangerous?
Sorry?
Was it not inherently dangerous to dive into a pipe?
Yes.
Irrespective of what had happened on that day, is it not inherently dangerous to dive into a pipe?
As we say, all diving, there's inherent danger. But they took a decision, it was too dangerous.
Well, I think you should address that question to witnesses who are yet to come.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you know who's coming.
I expect. But I will foundationally prepare so that when they do come, we know where we stand and there'll be no gap in that process.
I think we know where we stand. I think you should move to a different topic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Now, when Christopher was rescued and brought out from the water, you were very keen to ascertain the conditions of the pipe from which he had just come. Isn't that accurate?
I didn't realize that he came from the pipe at that time. I thought he was on the chamber.
You made any effort to find out where they found him? Because you must have certainly learned that no one was found in the chamber before that.
Yes, so afterwards,
Yeah.
I found out that...
I hear you.
Okay.
Right. So at the time you believed he reappeared into the chamber from where?
No, I didn't say that.
I'm asking you.
I didn't know at that time. It didn't come to me that he was in the pipeline. When we heard the knocking, I assumed that he was actually in the chamber, that the guys came out from the pipe into the chamber.
Wait, you are the senior man on site. Before Christopher was retrieved,
yes,
you had no information that others went into the chamber to ascertain whether it was empty or it was populated with humanity?
Yes.
And what was the information you knew?
Yeah.
Wasn't it that the chamber was empty?
Yes.
Right. He's then brought out. So you thought he just reappeared into the chamber?
No, I didn't say that.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I'm saying that when he was rescued, I wasn't aware that he was in the pipeline when he was rescued. I thought he was in the chamber. He came out into the chamber and was being rescued.
Well, forgive me for having to do this. Whether he was in the chamber on his own, at any stage you formed the opinion that he was at some time in the pipe?
Yes, after.
Right. And that would have been certainly before he was taken away on ambulance.
Yes, correct.
Yes. Wouldn't he be the best source, as Mr. Marriage had put it, original information as to the conditions within the pipe?
Yes.
You as the most senior operative for Paria, did you make any effort whatsoever to ascertain the condition of the pipe so that you could deal with the inherent dangers based on different circumstances within the pipe?
Yes, so once he came out, I observed him.
I didn't ask you what you observed.
You've got to let him answer.
Thank you, of course. Do please carry on.
Oh, yes, when he came out, I saw that he was covered in oil and shouting. He was saying some stuff, so he was shouting, so he was he was okay, basically. He wasn't right. I was on boat 6 at that time, and I went across on the barge to try and get to him. By that time, the launch already took him to shore.
Oh, I see. So you wished to make inquiry of him, but you didn't have the opportunity to do so.
I attempted to get first-hand information from him.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you follow?
No, I didn't follow him.
No. Did you communicate with anybody on shore to expect and make inquiry from him when he arrives?
I informed the incident command team that Mr. Budram was being taken to shore.
You called all of the team members, or whom specifically
I
did you
called
speak
the incident commander.
Mr. Piper again?
Mr. Piper.
To let him know, well, listen, we have a live one here who has first-hand information, and we could know the conditions within the pipe. Is that it?
I passed the information to let him know that, yes, the injured was coming ashore.
Would it shock you to learn, and maybe we might be given a different response from some other witness, that the first time after Christopher was taken from bird 5 or thereabouts, 6, sorry, that the first time anyone from incident command management team may have attempted to speak with him, Chairman, do forgive me, not attempted, but actually, from what the statements claim, that the first time that Christopher was actually spoken with was 10 o'clock or thereabouts?
I wouldn't have that information.
No. Were you interested to find out about his condition?
Yes.
Were you interested to find out what he had to say?
Yes.
Did you make any inquiry?
Yes, I asked.
From whom?
From the personnel on the barge.
Yes.
What did he say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And you learned, to repeat ourselves ad nauseum, that men were right behind and savable at that point in time, correct?
Yes. Indicated
You have, of course, paid close attention to the proceedings thereafter. You know that there was an audio recording of these men whilst they were in that pipeline, yes?
No.
You've never even heard that there was an audio recording?
No.
And therefore you never even, well, certainly if you didn't know of it, you didn't hear it. Would it shock you to learn that there was an audio recording with these men speaking to each other within the pipeline? Alive and viable? Huh?
I can't say.
Wow.
I mean, I have to hear it.
So, Chairman, that's an unfair composition of a question. My friend must be aware that that audio was only released to the Commission the Friday before we started, and it was played on the Monday. So, no one knew of that until the Commission was provided with it by Osh.
Well, he can ask him if he knew of its existence. And he said no. Right. It's not made generally available on the website.
Oh, it's not, I'm sorry.
No, I made it clear that it wouldn't be for obvious reasons.
Well, I know I heard it on the radio, so that's why forgive me.
Well, the part that was played in this hearing during the opening, of course, that was public to everyone, but we deliberately kept it short and deliberately kept it within a small compass. And I've made it clear that whilst it's available to the lawyers and those directly engaged in this matter, it is not available generally to the public. And I will not make it available generally to the public. It is not necessary to do so.
I know it's painful. It is beyond painful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Chairman. So, your function came to an end that evening at around 2 a.m.?
No, it didn't.
Is there a whiteboard at your office back on shore? An event board or something, whatever you want to call it?
I'm not sure.
Was there an office of the incident command team?
Yes, there was.
Did you ever enter that office after the incident?
On occasions.
When did you next enter that office?
I would go in on the mornings of picking up shift to get my instructions.
Right. When next after the incident did you enter that office?
That would have been the next morning, Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. Did you see and speak to any member of the incident command team there that morning?
In the room?
Yes.
I got Mr. Piper instructed me at that point, yeah.
What time?
I can't recall what time he spoke to
What time did you come to duty?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah. Did you have a look at any whiteboard with the incident notations on it?
No.
Did you know at any stage as to when a decision was made by the incident command team, forget when it was communicated to you, but when a decision was made that it would be too dangerous to endeavor rescue?
No.
Were you ever told that there was going to be that it was too dangerous to rescue by anybody?
No.
No. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so grateful to you, Mr.
Okay.
Aitran. Thanks.
So, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Peterson? Is there something useful you can add, Ms. Alfonso?
I wanted a couple of questions answered, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have anything useful to add. I was hoping Mr. Haricharan would help us with some things.
All right. Go on then.
Okay. And I promise to be brief. Good morning, Mr. I want to get it right. Haricharan.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Enquiry Alfonso, and I represent the interests of SWWTU. Mr. Haricharan, could you tell us how long you've worked with Paria?
We've had the answer to that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it. I probably was outside the door. Okay. You worked with Petrotrin prior to Paria?
Yes.
Have the answer to that too.
Okay, thank you very much. So you've been there for some time?
Yes.
Okay. You are Mr. Ramdan's senior officer. He's junior to you and you're senior to him?
Yes.
At the time. I know you're no longer there.
Yes.
At the time. At some point, where Mr. Budram came up, was that on berth 6 or was it on the barge? Outside, where he was brought up? It's closer to the barge? On the side of the barge?
He came up close to the riser. That was probably midway between the barge and the berth.
Okay, and you were on the berth?
Yes.
Okay. What is the distance between where you were on the berth 6, and where Mr. Budram would have come up?
If the straight line distance you're talking about?
Yes.
Maybe about 20, 30 feet.
Okay, so how would you get to that 20, 30 feet? You have to walk across something?
You mean how I would get to the barge?
Yes, how you'd get to the barge from berth 6.
Right, so from berth 6, you'll walk along the berth.
Yes.
Then there's a catwalk that extends maybe 200 feet, maybe 100 feet. There's a dolphin. You'd climb down the dolphin and then get onto the barge from there and then walk back down towards the berth.
Okay, and if you're walking or climbing, as the case may be, how long would that take? For you, when you left berth 6, not generally, when you left berth 6 and you're making your way onto the barge, how long that would have taken you? You said 20, 30 feet, but it's as the crow flies, right?
Yeah.
But you're not jumping it over. You're walking down the catwalk and you're coming across the dolphin and you're reaching there. How long will it take you to get there?
A couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes. 2, 3?
I can't say for sure.
So following from Mr. Ramadan's questions to you, it would only take you 2 to 3 minutes to leave where you were on berth 6 to reach to where Mr. Budram was brought up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Haricharan. At some point in time, Mr. Haricharan, and I promise I'm not going to ask you much after this, did you receive an instruction from Mr. Piper to, I want to say to send Mr. Farrar, or you and Mr. Farrar to make your way, Andrew Farrar, the diver,
Yes.
to the Incident Command Center?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
And that was around what time? You could help us?
Yes, sure.
Around 5, perhaps?
Let me get the time for you. Yes, around 1700.
Okay. I'm like Mr. Ramadan. You have to forgive us. I start taking away 2 in my head. So it's 5 o'clock.
Yes, 5 p.m.
Okay. So at that time, Mr. Farrar was the only remaining diver, as far as you knew, for LMCS.
Yes, correct.
On site. As
Yes.
far as you knew.
As far as I know.
Yes. Did you find it at all strange to remove the one diver that was present and to send him to the shore?
No, because there was no diving taking place at the time.
There's no diving taking place. If a rescue had to be done, would it be done by divers?
Yes.
Okay. So, but the one diver that was available was being ferried back on Mr. Piper's instruction to you,
Yes, correct.
to the shore.
Yes.
And at some point in time, Mr. Farrar, beg your pardon, received some information,
Yes.
and that information was that knocking was heard or noise was heard,
Yes.
and he asked to come back to the barge.
Forgive me,
don't know if he
forgive me,
asked,
I'm sorry, just wait a minute. All of this is in his statement. purpose of providing it to everybody in advance is that they know what is in the statement. You haven't asked anything yet, with the greatest respect, that has given us any fresh or new information. Purpose of permitting cross-examination by anybody is to try and elicit fresh or new information that we can, as commissioners, take into account in deciding what the outcome of this inquiry will be. You've been asking questions for some time. All of the answers to your questions are on his statement. So if there's something you want to lead up to, just ask that question so that we know where we are. All right?
Okay, so I would say this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have noted in your witness statement that you say that you gave the directive to return to the barge with Mr. Farrar on learning of that information that I just identified.
No, I informed Colin, and he told me to have Andrew Farrar return.
Okay, would you be surprised if you know that Mr. Farrar says something different? He says that he demanded that the captain turn the vessel around.
I can't say.
You can't say. Thank you very much, Mr. Harrington.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Peterson.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Harichan, you got instructions from Mr. Piper to indicate to persons there at the berth and the barge not to dive into the pipe. But after that instruction, persons continue to dive, didn't they?
Yes, correct.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Just one thing, please. Were you aware that Mr. Dobson went back with Mr. Boudram on the boat, whatever boat it was, back to shore to escort him?
I know that an HSE person from Paria-LMCS went with him, but I'm not sure if it was Dobson or someone else.
Well, we know it is, but you were aware at the time that there was somebody with him, accompanying him?
Yes, correct, yes.
And were you aware that he was medically qualified in some, not as a doctor, but, medically qualified?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you consider it might have been useful if you'd suggested that he accompany him all the way to the hospital so that he might be able to ask the very questions that you wanted to ask?
Well, I didn't know what the procedure was, if they were taking him to the hospital with Petrotrin's ambulance, Paria's ambulance, and he would be accompanied with him, or if they were taking him away with a government ambulance. So I'm not aware.
Right, well, whichever ambulance he went in, it clearly would make some sense that somebody should accompany him, both for his own welfare and for the welfare of those that remained in the pipe, in order to try and discover as much information as he was able to give.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, you recognised that it was important to try and speak to Mr. Boudram because he was in the position that he was in.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you got there too late and he was already being carted away.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Unless somebody's got anything to ask arising from that. Mr. Wilson has a question.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I just want to get, from your statement, I saw that you are training permit to work system and up to the level of area authority. Were you the area authority on that day?
Yes.
Okay. From your training in the permit to work system, supplemental certificates that are attached to the certificate or the permit to work, sorry, what are they in service of, best of your knowledge or from your training?
Hot work.
Just hot work?
In Paria, only hot work at that time, yes.
Only hot work at that time?
Yes.
But in the work scope instructions, I saw this morning that the pipeline was supposed to be isolated and de-isolated. Mm-hmm. Is that true?
Yes.
All right. Can I have the permit pulled up, please? Permit to work here. So you as the area authority, you're saying that there was a requirement to isolate the pipeline in service of executing the scope of work that morning?
Yes.
All right. I would like to bring your attention to the permit to work, please.
Sure.
If we could go down to requirements for equipment isolation and clearance, isolated by blind flanges. Also, sorry, let me back it up a bit. I also heard mention of an isolation checklist.
Yes.
So since the work instruction indicated that the pipeline needed to be isolated, was a isolation checklist completed and then supported with an isolation certificate?
No, Paria only has an isolation checklist, and that was completed.
Okay. So if I could go down to number 3. All right. So certificates / checklist required. I see not, so I'm seeing certification number and or not applicable. I'm not seeing anything even referencing a isolation checklist. And from the permit of work, it looks as though coming out of a checklist, and I'm alive to correction, that there's supposed to be a certificate if there's going to be an isolation. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an isolation checklist.
Checklist?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying in the permit to work, coming out of an isolation checklist, it's, an accompanying certificate is not attached to the work permit as a supplemental certificate or document?
No, not from my understanding of the permit to work.
Can't hear you.
Not from my understanding from the permit to work.
In the isolation checklist, what are some of the components that an isolation checklist would address in a...
Right. So the isolation checklist that Paria has addresses where the isolations were done, and it addresses what time they were inserted and removed.
Okay. That's a checklist, a 2-point checklist.
Well, it has a drawing showing where the system is isolated as well.
Okay. Now, in your training in permit to work and or as an area authority, what is the purpose of an isolation?
The isolation checklist?
Not checklist, just isolating. Whether it's mechanical, electrical, process, why do we isolate?
Well, in the case of the pipeline, you're isolating to prevent hydrocarbons from entering into the workspace. So isolation is to prevent hazards from coming into the workplace. Okay, all right. So the thinking was there was never any potential stored energy inside or outside of the pipeline. It was just for the hydrocarbons. For the hydrocarbons, yes. Okay. Also, under your rules and responsibilities, this goes back to planning in terms of having an idea of the amount of barrels to be displaced or the amount of product in the pipeline to be displaced. Is it in your experience, given your roles and responsibilities, that a certificate of environmental clearance is to be obtained before such activities, or is that Paria's practice? That the certificates be obtained before which activities? Clearing a pipeline. No, I've never seen that done. Never seen it from coming from the EMA? No, I've never seen it from Paria. That's a CEC. It's not a practice of Paria. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. You're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
And you can stay or go as you please, all right? But thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Let's move to our next witness, who I believe is Mr. Marjad Singh.
Yes, the next witness is Mr. Houston Marjad Singh.
Yes.
And Miss...
He's a Kenson employee, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Well, let's have
Jaya
him
Maharaj would lead the summary.
So, Mr. Marjad Singh, please. Thank you. And do you have questions for him, Mr. Maharaj? Yes. take the papers away from him and the spare bottle of water there? The one with the white cap, I think, is it previously. Thank you.
I
Houston Majat Singh
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that the evidence
that the evidence
I shall give to the Commission
I shall give to the Commission
in this case
shall be the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Mr. Marjad Singh, take a seat. Thank you. If you take that bottle away, please, the LS. Thank you. What's going to happen next is Ms. Maharaj is going to read a summary of your evidence, all right? Listen to it carefully, please, and then at the end, if you agree with it, you'll tell her you do. If there's anything else you want to say about it, you can, all right? And that hopefully will mean that your evidence will be shorter. After that, Mr. Maharaj, he will be asking you some questions. I anticipate we'll have lunch in the middle somewhere, and then a number of the other lawyers here will ask you some questions. So I'm afraid you're certainly going to be required after lunch, all right? But if you pay attention, first of all, to what Ms. Maharaj has to say, and then we can proceed from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Houston Marjad Singh submitted a witness statement to the Commission dated 2nd December 2022. He declined to be interviewed by the Commission. His witness statement is at the Supplemental Witness Statement Bundle, page 3049. Mr. Marjad Singh is a maintenance technician at Paria Fuel Trading Company. He began working at Paria in or around August 2021. From the commencement of his employment at Paria, he was under the direction of his supervisor, Mr. Terence Rampasad Singh, Paria's maintenance planner, who gave him directions on what work he was supposed to do generally and on a daily basis. As a maintenance technician, he was assigned an office at Paria, had a Paria email address, and a Paria identification card. He was familiar with the works being carried out by LMCS, which started in January 2022 and was suspended on the 17th of February because LMCS, under the supervision of its employee Dexter Guerra, sent a barge out to sea without the required work permit. This led to Paria suspending the works and Dexter Guerra being demoted. The works resumed on the 25th of February. Mr. Marjad Singh had seen the scope of work of LMCS. The scope of work he refers to is exhibited at page 3058 of his witness statement. He was aware that LMCS was a specialist contractor providing all required supervision for the works they were doing at Bird 5 and 6. Mr. Marjad Singh says that he had to be able to follow the job as laid out in LMCS's scope of works to report to his supervisor daily on what percentage of the job was completed, but he was not a supervisor and did not have to supervise LMCS. Mr. Marjad Singh met with Mr. Rampasad Singh in the week prior to the recommencement of the works. Also, on the morning of the 25th February, he spoke to Mr. Rampasad Singh in the presence of another maintenance technician, Mr. Mangali. On both occasions, Mr. Rampasad Singh told him what to do whilst LMCS was doing the works. On 25th February, Mr. Rampasad Singh informed Mr. Marjad Singh that there was to be a carber test on both Bird 5 and 6 and the removal of the old riser and the installation of the new riser section at Bird 6. Mr. Marjad Singh explained that his job for the 25th of February, based on the instructions he received from Mr. Rampasad Singh, was to do the following. 1, fill out the work permit. 2, ensure there was an inspection of the carber test at Bird 5 and 6. And 3, supply material where needed to LMCS. On the morning of the 25th of February, Mr. Marjad Singh filled out Section A of the work permit based on the information he received from Mr. Rampasad Singh, and he attached the relevant documents. He signed the form as the applicant. The form was authorized by the offshore team supervisor, Mr. Jonathan Ramdan of Paria. The contractor representative, Mr. Rudolph Gonzalez of LMCS, also signed the form. Mr. Marjad Singh stated that he did not approve any of the documentation on the permit to work which was issued to LMCS. He further stated it was not his job to approve LMCS's method statement and job safety analysis, as he did not have the expertise to do this. The documents were approved before they were handed over to him. Mr. Marjad Singh stated he did not have specialist knowledge about the job LMCS was doing because as a maintenance technician, he only knows of the work relative to his field. He further stated that on the 25th February, LMCS had its supervisors on site. He recalls the following persons being present at Booth 6 on the 25th February. 1. Andrew Farah, LMCS's dive supervisor, whose job was to constantly monitor the camera and have communication with the divers in the chamber. 2. Victor Dilpaul, LMCS's safety officer. And 3. Kazim Ali Jr., LMCS's supervisor. He further states that Rudolph Gonzalez was the LMCS supervisor on Booth 5. It was Mr. Marjad Singh's belief that LMCS was to supply all supervision for the works and all labour, materials, equipment, project engineering, transportation, consumables, and insurance required to perform the works being conducted at Booth 6. On the morning of 25th February, Mr. Marjad Singh issued the permit to work to LMCS supervisor Kazim Ali Jr., and thereafter LMCS commenced their work for the day. Mr. Marjad Singh then boarded a launch vessel and proceeded to Booth 5 to monitor another maintenance job and keep his supervisor updated accordingly. Upon his arrival at Booth 5, he participated in a toolbox meeting conducted by LMCS supervisor Rudolph Gonzalez, and he recalls there was a discussion on the cargo test to be performed on Booth 5 that day. He remained on Booth 5 on that day from the morning to the early afternoon period, and then went to Booth 6 for a status update and also to update his log for the day. When he arrived at Booth 6, he spoke to Andrew Farah to find out if his team was getting through with the job. Mr. Farah said yes, and Mr. Marjad Singh then went to the screen monitor on Booth 6 and saw one of the divers in the chamber. He then moved away from the screen. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Marjad Singh felt a shake on Booth 6 and heard a noise. He immediately went back to the monitor to see if something had happened in the chamber and noticed the camera was not focused in the chamber and it appeared to be showing the wall of the chamber. Andrew Farah was at the monitor as well. Mr. Marjad Singh then asked Mr. Farah what happened, but Mr. Farah did not know. Mr. Farah went on the barge, put on his dive gear, and went into the water to go inside the chamber to see what had happened. Mr. Farah came back within 10 minutes and said he did not see anyone inside the chamber. Mr. Marjad Singh then notified the operator, Mr. Scott, that something may have gone wrong, and also notified his co-workers on shore. Mr. Ramdan came on site and deployed launch vessels to search the surrounding areas for the missing divers. Mr. Marjad Singh stayed on Booth 6 until about 11 p.m. to see what happened and to see whether they could locate the missing divers. He played no role in the search efforts. Is that a correct summary of your evidence, Mr. Marjad Singh?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Just before you ask any questions, may I just confirm with you, please? You, I think, started working at Paria in August of 2021, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
What were you doing before that?
Well, I have my own contracting business. And then before that, I used to work in Petrotrin. So when we got sent home from Petrotrin, I opened up my own business.
So you were working, first of all, with Petrotrin.
Yeah.
And when that folded, there was a period when you were running your own business as what, a consultant?
No, a contracting business, doing maintenance work as well to commercial buildings and property. And then in between, I would work in 1 or 2 shutdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
So what sort of experience did you bring to this particular task as a technician, maintenance technician?
Well, from my experience of working throughout the Point Lisa's area and within the refinery. So I had a lot of knowledge in pipe fitting, fabricating, mechanical wise.
For how long?
I started to work in the oil and gas industry since in 2010.
Right, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
If you bring your chair to... Don't switch that off and on, leave it on. Bring a chair and that's it. And if you speak there, then I think we'll all hear you. Slow down just a little bit, all right? Because I have to try and make a note of what you're saying. Thank you very much. Now, I think Mr. Maharaj is going to ask you a few questions, all right?
Mr. Marjad Singh, do you have any experience in offshore subsea maintenance works?
No, not subsea, no.
I have a report from OSHA, and just for the record, it's in Core Bundle Volume 3, and it's at page 1239. And it says that the applicant to the permit, Mr. Houston Marjad Singh, stated that he has 7 months' experience in Paria, and his prior work experience was in construction and pipe fitting. Was that correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you said you had no experience in offshore subsea maintenance works.
Yeah, correct.
And you were the applicant for this work permit. Not so, you signed as applicant. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And in the paragraph, 7 of your witness statement, you said that in order for you to carry out your duties as maintenance technician, you had to be able to follow the job as laid out in LMCS scope of works. You see that?
Yeah, correct.
Correct. And you exhibited to your witness statement the scope of works that you were referring to.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, correct.
And I take you to page 3065 of the scope of works at paragraph 312. Right? And you see there that it's, apart from cut, insert, migration, barrier, etc., and then you see note. Well, let me read it. Cut, insert, migration barrier, install a 30-inch flange onto the existing line, inspection requirement for the flange, 100% PT, including root passes, VT and hydro test. Note, video stream to be provided topside during work activity for Paria's representative. You see that?
Yeah, I see it.
And do you interpret that to mean that while work was being done on the 25th of February 2022, that a video stream was to be provided for Paria's representative to view the works?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And from your experience that occurred whilst you have been working with Paria, that happens. A video stream is there, and Paria's representative would view the works.
Yeah, correct.
And would view the works to monitor the works in order to ensure compliance.
Yeah, monitor.
Yes. On the 25th of February, you were present at the time these works were being done?
I was on boat 5 because we're doing the Kaba test first on boat 5. So I went to boat 5 first.
First, but you came at boat 6 after?
A little while after.
And when you came back at boat 6, were the works going on with respect to what had to be done at boat 6?
At the time I reached at boat 6, yeah, the guys was inside the chamber.
The guys were inside the chamber. And what time? Was that in the afternoon? Sometime in the afternoon?
Yeah, that was in the afternoon.
Around what time that would have been?
By the time I reached on boat 6, was around after 2.
After 2?
Yeah.
And how long you remained at boat 6?
Well, according to my statement, I stayed on boat 6 until around 11.
Until 11. Well, you know that the work, you were the applicant for the work permit, so you knew that the work was to be done in accordance with the work permit, not so?
Correct.
And did you look on the video stream to see that the works were being done in accordance with the work permit?
Right. So at the time that I looked at the monitor, I just saw one person, but he was just at the flange standing. He was not doing any mechanical work or anything. He was just at the flange standing up.
All right. He was at the flange standing up. And did you continue to look?
No, I just saw him by the flange standing up. I didn't see no mechanical work going on. So I went to a different point. I didn't stay long by the monitor.
But you knew that afternoon that the work which had to be done was to insert the new riser.
Yes.
Right. So you saw one of the men at the pipe, and were you interested to see whether they were complying with the terms of the work permit?
Yeah.
Well, did you decide to remain to look and see what was happening?
No, remember, I would get feedback from the supervisor.
And who was the supervisor?
Junior Kazim. But at the time when I was on the boat, he was in the water, so it would have been impossible for me to get a proper update, and he would be the only one I would go to get an update.
So you would get an update from Junior Kazim, who was employed by LMCS?
Yes, because he was the supervisor for the site.
But you were representing Paria.
Correct.
And you were representing Paria to ensure that there was compliance with the works being done by LMCS.
Correct.
Because if LMCS was not doing the works in accordance with the work permit, you would have to stop the works, not so?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so the works involve having this new riser inserted, correct?
Yeah.
You saw one of the workers, according to you, one of the divers, over the pipe, seeing about exactly what you saw.
Well, I saw him, and he was just standing up by the flange, touching the flange fleece. So right. I don't know if he was cleaning the flange fleece or what exactly. Okay. But his hand was on the flange fleece.
But you knew what work you knew had to be done with respect to that pipe that afternoon?
Yes, correct.
What work you knew had to be done?
Well, I know we had to conduct the carb test and install the riser section, bolt it up.
And according to you, you had a work permit, and on that work permit says migration barrier to be used.
Yeah, correct.
And would you agree with me that one of the things that you had to ensure happened that day was that the LMCS workers complied to ensure that the migration barrier was used?
Okay, correct.
And the migration barrier had to be used in respect of the job to insert the new riser.
Correct.
So here it is, your job that day was to monitor this work, correct?
Yeah.
So you saw one of the men over the pipe. Could you tell us why you didn't stay to monitor to see whether the job was being complied with?
Right, so let me explain. I not have to station by the monitor, right? The monitor is there for me to do checks when I'm passing on the site. So they have a guy who would be stationed there who is seeing about the divers, which is the dive master. So the monitor is basically for me to come and just oversee, take a look, assume everything looking normal, and I go to the boat, I check the other employees, and conduct my job for the day.
What was the most important thing you thought that you had to do that afternoon with respect of those works? Not to monitor to see how the work was being done?
Yeah, monitor.
Yes, and you had to monitor it continually.
Right.
Correct?
Periodically.
Periodically.
Yeah. So not constantly stay by the monitor and watch each job step.
So are you telling us that Paria didn't give you instructions to monitor the work continuously?
No, I don't have to station. That was not my instructions to stay at the monitor and watch the work wholly.
As from your experience at Paria, does anyone at Paria monitor works like this when it is being done continually?
Yeah, once we doing work, remember, sometimes we have 2 or 3 works to see about for the day. So it's not really possible that we could stay at one spot all the time.
All right, I'll come back to that when I look at the permit to work rules with you, right? So let's look, but you would agree with me that this video stream is to be used in order to see that the works are being done in accordance with the rules, not so?
And also for the dive master to watch over his guys.
And who was the dive master?
Mr. Farah.
Mr. Farah. So you had an LMCS representative there, right? But did you have a Paria? Who was the Paria's representative to monitor the works?
Well, I work in Kingston on behalf of Paria.
Paria, and Paria gave you instructions what to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And although you are a Kenson employee, you take instructions from Paria.
Correct.
And you work at Paria.
Correct.
And your job is the instructions you get from Paria, they tell you what to do and how to do it.
Correct.
Correct. So let's go to the scope of works that you said that you refer to, that your duties are. You see at page 3070, under Paria's responsibility, 4.3. You see 4.3? You see that?
No, what page?
3070. The page number is at the bottom. It's on the screen.
Yeah.
In the core bundle, it would be at volume. Volume 2, Mr. Chairman, and it starts at page 558. But yeah. You found it, Mr. Jadsing? 4.3. Paria's responsibility provides slop barge capacity 40 barrels to assist in the removal of line content. What do you understood that as the applicant for this work permit to be?
Exactly what it says, to provide the slop barge.
For the oil, for the line content.
For oil contents, yeah.
So the oil had to be drained, not so?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And you see 4.5?
Yeah, correct.
Provide personnel, and it said to oversee isolation, de-isolation, depressurization, pressurization, and draining. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Paria's responsibility, not so?
Yeah, correct.
And then if we go to well, we have the contractor's responsibility at 5.4 on page 3071. Provide live video feed during the subsea works.
Yeah.
And then at page 3072, you will see the prepare job hazard analysis and risk assessment for review by Paria. Okay? So I want to go to your responsibilities as the applicant. But before I go there, you told us that you arrived at Bird 6 at about 2 p.m.
About after that, I say around 2 or after that.
What time did this work start that day? Sometime in the morning?
Yeah, correct.
So you didn't monitor the morning period?
No.
And the first time you start to monitor was at 2 p.m.?
Yeah, that when I reach on Bird 6.
That's after lunch?
Yeah.
Well, let's look at, as the applicant for this work permit, you knew that there were rules which apply to the applicant. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct.
And they are contained in the permit to work rules. And Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, that would be found at volume 1, at page 26, but particularly at page 28. Now, if I start on this issue, you are the applicant on behalf of Paria for this work permit, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Correct. And it says here, if you look at under applicant, it says the applicant is the person who initiates the job activity by completing Section A of the work permit certificate. And that is what you did here, right?
Yeah, correct.
Correct. The applicant must have the necessary competence to execute the job. Do you consider you have the necessary competence to have executed these works?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
You have the competence to execute these works?
The task for the day, according to the work permit, yes.
Oh, I see.
That's what I used to do in Petrotron.
Oh, so you have the competence to execute the works in monitoring the job or in doing the works in the chamber?
No, like, all right, the work that I was doing in the chamber.
Just a minute. Could you read the entirety of that sentence?
Okay, my lord.
Yeah.
Necessary competence to execute the job or to supervise the execution of the job. Do you have any of those competence?
Yeah, the job that I was doing, right, according to the work permit, right, is basically unbolting, making up of flanges, and rigging. That is well within my field.
That's all that is within your field, as far as that job was concerned?
Yeah. Yeah?
Yes. Then it goes on. He shall be knowledgeable of the hazards associated with the job and the necessary controls for those hazards.
Yeah, correct.
Correct. He shall be responsible for the job and for the safety of the people who work on the job. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Right. So let us go down to the next page, 0029. I won't take you to all of this. But you see on the fourth bullet point, continually monitor the job to ensure that it is performed in a safe manner and within the conditions prescribed in the work permit, certificates, and JHA risk assessment, that is job safety analysis, etc. You see that?
Yeah.
So continually monitor the job. But you were doing it periodically.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, according to you, you came on the job at 2 o'clock to monitor it.
Yeah.
And after you came on the job at 2 o'clock, you didn't monitor it continuously.
Not continuously, continually. So that basically...
Well, not continually even. All right, let's go. And you see that you have the discretion to stop the work if there are changes in the site conditions and that increases the risk, or if new hazards are identified and promptly notify the site authority of these changes. So if you have to do this to identify if there are new hazards and etc., and you have to monitor the job for a long period of time at least?
Yeah, well, I was on site.
For how? Yeah, you were on the site. I'm talking about monitoring the job. For how long on any occasion when you came there at 2 o'clock, you monitored the job? How long?
I don't have an accurate time, but for just a couple of minutes to the monitor.
Which one? Were you there for the toolbox meeting for this job?
Booth 6?
At Booth 6?
No, I was not there.
And look at page 28, the last bullet point. You as the applicant have to ensure that the pre-start meetings are conducted with the work crew to discuss the job.
Correct.
But you were not there.
Right. But they say ensure that the pre-start meeting are conducted, right?
Yeah.
A way that I could ensure that is when I come on site, I could go through the documents and see that our toolbox talk was done. And then from my discussion with the supervisor in the morning, I would reiterate to him to make sure that the toolbox talk is done on everybody. So in the GHA.
But you are not there on, I just want to get it clear, you were not there at that morning at Bird 6 at the toolbox meeting?
No.
But you knew that meeting was held that morning?
Afterwards.
Yes, but you were at Bird 5 at that period of time?
Correct.
Now I want to show you the toolbox form for Bird 6. It's page, volume 3, 1070. You see, Mr. Dobson, Mr. Majad Singh, I am seeing you, well, let me show it to you. Look at both, look at page 1070. The last name on the right-hand column, Houston Majad Singh, and I see a signature.
Correct.
Is that your signature?
Yeah.
So you were there at 9:15 a.m.?
No.
So when did you sign this?
When I came on the booth and review over the documents to make sure everything was signed up, I would make sure that the toolbox talk was conducted, and I would affix my signature to notifying that, well, a toolbox talk was conducted.
Just pause for a minute, please.
So you signed
So that I understand you, your evidence on this. This represents the toolbox meeting that took place on berth 6 at 9:15 on the 25th of February of this year.
Correct.
Toolbox meeting is a meeting which sets out what is to happen and what the hazards might be.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
It's supposed to indicate who was present at that meeting.
Yeah.
Yes? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
So that we can be sure, if anyone wants to look later on, who was there and what the discussion broadly was about. Correct?
Yeah.
You were not there.
No.
Correct? But you looked at this form later that day. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So it was on berth 6, was it?
Yeah.
And when you examined it, did you verify with the people that are listed there, or Mr. Dilpaul, that this toolbox meeting had taken place?
Yeah, well, that's where I get all the documents from. He normally just keep the documents, and when
Who is who?
Mr. Dilpaul.
Right. So Mr. Dilpaul gave you this document on berth 6, did he?
Yeah, correct.
At what time?
I can't remember the exact time when I reached on berth 6.
Approximately.
Within about 5 minutes for me arriving on the boat, because normally I would go and make sure all the
Before
documents.
or after lunch?
After lunch.
Right. After lunch, so after 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Within minutes of your arriving, he gave you this, and then you put your name on it. Is that your handwriting?
To the bottom, number 40, yeah.
Yes. And then you signed it, did you?
Yeah.
Do you regard that as being compliant with the rules?
No.
Well, why did you sign it then?
Agreeing that I ensure that a toolbox talk was conducted.
So the first time that you verified that there was a toolbox meeting on that day was sometime around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, correct.
Hours after the work had already commenced.
Yeah.
How could you discharge your duties if that was the case?
I don't understand what you're saying there.
You don't understand discharging duties?
Yeah, I understand discharging duties,
Well,
but
what was your duty?
to organize the work permits, facilitate the contractor with any additional material, and arrange with inspections to come and oversee the carbon test.
That's it. So whatever else might have happened before the carbon test, you weren't interested?
No, it's not that I wasn't interested, it's just I was on another job site.
Okay. Anyway, that's what you did.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Mr. Majad Singh, what time you signed this document?
The toolbox?
Yeah, this document, and what time you signed it?
I don't have an accurate time. But it would be, it would be...
the same day or the day after?
No, the same day when I came on the boat.
Around what time?
It would be, I don't have an accurate time, but when I came on the boat, within a couple of minutes, I normally go and ask for the permits to make sure safety sign and everybody sign, and the toolbox talk conducted, and the GHA, and everybody signed the GHA.
Okay. But when you wrote 9:15, you knew you were not writing the correct information.
I don't have any time. You don't have a time on the toolbox?
Okay. No. The meeting is 9:15.
Yeah.
But you knew you were not given the right information to say that you were present at the toolbox meeting.
No, I just assigned to know that, well, a toolbox talk was...
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go to another issue. On the work permit form.
Can I ask, before you move on
Yes,
to the other,
yes.
how long do you think you're going to be?
About 5 minutes.
All right, well, let's get your part done, and then
Okay.
we'll break for lunch then. You all right to carry on until after lunch?
Yeah, not a problem.
On the form, it has, you see, you have the form before you, or I think I should get
No.
the form. The permit to work. It's at I have the reference 9838, but yeah, but I want to give the.
You want the permit to work?
Yes, the permit to work.
Page 1074.
1074. You see on the comments there, in the column B1, comments line drained.
Yeah.
You knew as the applicant then that the line, the sea line, was drained.
Yeah, from the OTS.
From what that note says.
Yeah.
Can you help us? Did you play any part in the draining of the line?
In between, same thing, we arranged with the permits for the draining, so the LMCS could conduct the draining.
So how this happened over a period of time and you were part of it?
Yeah, in and out, because remember, I'm not alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And would I be correct in saying could you tell us, was the line completely drained?
No, I can't say that.
You don't know?
No.
So you don't know how much of the line was drained?
No, I don't know.
No further questions.
All right, we'll take our break there now, all right? What progress are we making? We're making good progress. We'll have an hour for lunch. So 2:15, please. 2:15. You're free to go now. Don't discuss this with anybody else, all right? Come back at 2:15 and we hope to get your evidence done fairly quickly. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. 2:15, please.
All rise.